Good evening and welcome to the September 15th, 2014 meeting of the Board of Selectmen of the town of Wakefield. Before we get into our normal meeting tonight, we do have a need to enter into executive session. That's a private meeting of the board, by law that's allowed for us to discuss things like contract negotiations and so forth, where to have a public discussion would probably prejudice the town in our bargaining position. So with that, to executive session, but I do need a vote of the members of the board. So can I get a motion to enter executive
So
session?
moved. Second.
Seconded by Paul.
Yes.
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So with that, it's unanimous, and we will enter now executive session. We'll try to resume from executive session. We're tending to be back by 7:30. So thank you very much. Come on. Okay, welcome back. We just took a vote to come out of executive session, and now we'll open the public portion of the Selectmen's meeting. The first thing I'd like to do is approve the minutes of our last meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Tiz, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Next matter is public participation. I believe we don't have anybody who signed up for public participation this evening. And so we'll jump right into personnel and appointment. The first one is Mary Ann Cohen, the new director of the Chamber of Commerce. Come on up. Welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I just wanted to come and say hello and introduce myself. I think I've met almost all of you in person. If I haven't, I apologize. I would like to get a chance to speak with you, but I just wanted you to be able to put a face with a name. I'm the new executive director for the Wakefield Chamber of Commerce, and I just look forward to working with the Board of Selectmen and the town of Wakefield and Linfield. And if there's anything ever I can do for the board or answer or questions or anything, I'm happy to do so. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I'm excited to have you on board. You
Thank
seem
you.
like you're full of energy and ready to roll.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done, mainly downtown. That's been the focus of this board and, myself and Selectman Donaco now is the development committee. And I guess my only question is right out of the gate, what will be your target? What are your goals coming right out of the gate?
My goals are really to support the members that we already do have.
Yep.
Finding out what they want. What can the chamber do for them? And what I've been saying to a lot of people is that I know back in the day, if I needed to find a business, I would go online to the Chamber of Commerce and say, I need to find such and such a business. Nowadays, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to type into Google such and such a business.
Right.
So what can we do for our members? And how can I do that and tie the community together? How can these businesses support the town as a whole, as well as a school system, as well as the nonprofits and everything? So I'd like to try and find a way to bring those all together, but also increase membership and provide what they're looking for.
Very good answer, because I often wonder when, companies are asked to join a membership like this, what do you get in return? What, do you get access to other businesses,
Yes.
lists and all that kind of thing?
Yes.
So that's great.
And that's what we're trying to figure out. What is the benefit of being part of the Chamber of Commerce? So that's something the board is working on currently.
Excellent.
Anyone else?
I'm happy to meet you.
Thank you. It's very nice to meet
and
you.
welcome you, and I'm sure you'll do a good job.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Steve?
If I can jump in, I've had a number of meetings with Mary Ann, and she's full of energy, and I think is going to do some great things at the Chamber. She has a great background in marketing and business development, and really sounds to me like bringing in membership together and making things work for a greater good, which is exactly what we need here. So very impressed with her resume, very impressed that the Chamber made this choice, and we met the other day. Can I talk?
Sure.
Although seeing a recent picture of me on the item, I'm not so sure if I'm interested in this anymore. But Restaurant Week is something that Mary Ann was talking about. So I'm not sure that I'm ready for Restaurant
So you needed
Week.
that wetsuit like you and I.
Yeah, I know, I'm gonna do something. But,
Looks like every week's Restaurant Week.
I know, exactly. Okay, well. Great working with you, Mary Ann. Thank you very much.
And on that note,
I'm leaving now. I'm being invited back.
Never be invited back again.
I might not be invited back. So, all right. Any other nice comments?
I've had the privilege of already working with Mary Ann. She's going to do wonders for the chamber. I look forward to many years of working with you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, great. Really pleasure to have you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for having
We're all
me.
looking forward. I think, stick around because one of the guys you got to work with closely is coming up 2 people after you.
Okay,
So,
wonderful.
all right, thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Why don't you ask her? Mary Ann?
I'd like to ask you a question.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry.
Sure. I know I've lived in other states and other towns, and when new families, I know have moved in,
Yes.
the chamber makes it a point to go visit them and welcome them. I must say, I've never seen that done in Wakefield. Do you have any intentions? It's a kind of a nice thing.
It is, and
When
it-
somebody new moves in, to have somebody from the town come and greet them and say hello and everything, so.
Right. Well, since I'm only part-time, I don't think I could get to everyone who's moved in because we just started a pilot program. We have a new resident package we're sending out. So instead of going to see them personally, we have put together a coupon booklet that we send to them, just giving them some local businesses that they can go to and get a discount as they move in.
Okay.
Hopefully, eventually, we'll be
Maybe
meeting them in
eventually
person.
we'll be able to do
Yes.
that.
We've
Okay.
collected over 200 names since July of people who have moved into Wakefield. So just, that would be a lot of time.
Right.
And but right now I'm focusing on the businesses, and then hopefully I can get to the personal touch of new residents too.
Understand. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you, Phyllis. Anybody else? Are we good? All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Dan McGrath, our new Recreation Director.
Good evening.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to come meet with you folks. Obviously, this is my first time meeting with you guys, as today was my first day in town. Anxious to really get things going. There's a huge need for this in this community, and we have, we're going to expand this. We're going to take 6 months, make sure that we get everything squared away. In sometime February, everybody in town will get a brochure showing all of our programs for spring and for summer. And we'll do it again in the summer for fall and the winter. And we're going to have programming from toddlers all the way up to seniors. So for those who participate too much in Restaurant Week, there's something for you.
Why do you look at you, Steve?
I don't know.
It was brought up.
He's one that can pay.
But yeah, we're gonna have something for everybody. That's the whole goal here. And we're not just recreation. We're gonna do some community programming as well. Hopefully, do some special events. And really hit the ground running. So looking forward to it. And if you folks have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you. Anybody?
Yeah, well, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
This has been another of the areas that we needed to really fill this gap. And I mean, what the kids in this town all summer long to have some activities. And I've heard it from parents and from kids themselves, summer leagues, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, whatever.
Yep.
Certainly have the lake. One thing that I've talked about for years was, it's to walk that lake in the summertime is beautiful, but when you come around the corner towards Colonel Conley Park, there's something
Yep.
for everybody except we have this beautiful beach spot with parking and no swimming. It's
Yep.
just big sign, no swimming. And for kids in this town that don't have a summer house or a place to go, to be able to go swimming, or for mothers or kids, parents to take their kids for the day down to the lake, walk down to the lake, there should be a hot dog stand there or something. No, a
Oh,
licensed
boy.
hot dog stand. Licensed hot dog stand there.
Swimming.
So that we can, Restaurant Week, there should be a snack bar there or
Sure.
something. Licensed snack bar there, so they're down there in the summertime, enliven that area.
Yep.
And I'd love to see something like that in the future. Do you?
In the community that I'm coming from, I was in Arlington previous to this stop here. We had the Reservoir Beach. Reservoir Beach was one of the, according to the Boston Globe, one of the gems of eastern Massachusetts. I would love to see that type of facility. It is a bermed beach or swimming pool, for lack of a better term, chlorinated. And I'd love to see that type of thing down at Colonel Conley's Beach, because that's a wonderful area. I remember going there when I was a kid. I was born and raised in Reading. Not nowhere to go in Reading either. Just come over here. So it's a great little area. It's a perfect spot for it. And it's going to take some time and some money to do it. But done right, we can make some money. And having a little snack bar or whatever there, just another little addition. We just did that in Arlington this past summer, and it was a great addition. So yeah, it's something that we look forward to doing too.
Yeah, great.
Tiz?
Yeah, hey, Dan, thanks for introducing yourself. The city that I grew up in, they had a very active recreational department at Somerville.
Yep.
And every summer, when the kids got out of school, every section of the city had their own rec department.
Yep.
And that you can just go down to the park, play whatever, basketball.
Yep.
Baseball, paddle tennis, whatever it is,
Yep.
and they would have inter-park games and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get something like that established here in Wakefield. That would be fantastic.
We used to have something similar to that when I grew up in Reading too. You know, I was in Memorial Park, and we'd go to Washington Park on our bikes and, you know, play wiffle ball, whatever it was, against kids. We'll do something probably along those lines. I really want to do some sort of basic summer camp program housed at a certain school, and that's going to be our location every single solitary day. We'll have arts and crafts, sports and games, you know, science, nature, drama kind of aspect to it. And hopefully we can go one of the local swimming areas, give the kids something for that in the afternoon, have extended day, morning and afternoons, teenagers working.
Yeah.
Because those are the kids that we really want to hire. We want the kid who's your football captain. We want the kid in the band. We want your National Honor Society kid. We want a gamut of experience and kids who can come and work. Because really, that's who needs it. They need it just as much as the kids need it. You know, the kids need somewhere to go. The older kids need somewhere to make a few bucks. So that's what we're going to try and do.
That'd be great. Hopefully it's successful, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and Paul next. Yep.
Thank you. Congratulations on the
Thank you.
appointment. While we're doing this, we tend to find in this town that we not cater, but we have active sports programs throughout. I mean, we're very proud of all of our programs. But there is a large section of children that are not sports orientated. You can just drive down the streets of Main Street some afternoon around 3:30, 4 o'clock. There's a large group of them that aren't sports oriented. You need to capture those.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have to get them involved somehow in the activities of the town, whereas they're moving up to another location where they're getting their minds off of one area and into something that's more productive
Yeah,
than what they are now. So, again, so that would be something that I would really like to see the rec department really concentrate on as well, to grab them and bring them into the mix and, you know, add them into the community.
Yeah, they're an untapped resource. They
Absolutely.
really are, and you got to bring in a variety of activities that they'll be excited about. Because you're right, you're going to get the basketball player, the baseball player, the football, the soccer. Those kids are going to do activities. What about the ones who are just kind of missing something or just aren't confident enough to do it? And that's what we want to do, is bring those kids in too. Give something for everyone.
Look forward to seeing what's happening.
Thank you.
Dan?
And I apologize, I couldn't get out of work quite early enough to make the 7 o'clock call. But I grew up in Wakefield, and we had this. I mean, I was a member at Sullivan Park. That's where I went. And sports programs, but kind of going along with what Paul's saying, I think the baseball, football kids are going to be playing outside of Wakefield. So capturing just neighborhood kids who are throwing a ball around that might not might not be playing organized sports and other activities. But we've had it in this town. It was wildly successful. So I'm really excited to see what you can do. I think it's a missing piece.
I'm looking forward to it. I really can't wait for our first program the big one, whenever that one is, when it's fully prepared and ready to go. I can't wait to see that one get off and running.
Great.
'Cause it's going to be a lot of fun.
Super. Thank you. Anybody else? Good?
I just want
Phyllis?
to welcome you.
Thank you.
And glad that you're here.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
look forward to seeing what kind of a job you'll be doing.
Thank you.
Ted, just real quick, anything you need from us, please come and ask and talk to us.
Thank you very
'Cause we-
much.
You know, I would like to see this really succeed here in the town, so.
Me too.
Yeah.
As I do process, this isn't a stepping stone for me. This is where I want to be. This is the job I've dreamt of for probably 10 years. I worked in Reading for 5, was then in Arlington for 7. I've been waiting for this one to open up. This was the right community. It's the right time. Look forward to working with all of you.
Great.
Great. Steve, you had something else?
Yeah, I just want to jump in that the process that we underwent in the interviewing here was that we, of course, advertised for the position. We had a screening committee from the Rec Commission, and we had over 30 applicants for the position. They narrowed it down to, I think, 7. They interviewed 7 and then sent 3 along to me. Dan comes to us with experience as the program coordinator in town of Reading, recreation program for 4 years, and then the assistant coordinator in Arlington, rec director in Arlington. Has a myriad of great success stories in his path. Obvious the job, and I know Selectman Glenn brought up the swimming aspect. I think we talked for about half an hour about this place in Arlington that we have to go take a look at and see if that isn't something that we can replicate here. And after all of these things are said and done, they're all moneymakers at the end of the day. When they're up and running, it is a program that that handles itself. And actually, I envision it, and I know that Dan does, is running a profit that we can put back into our fields and our facilities and what have you, because that's important, because they are great, but they need to be maintained, and that does cost a little bit of money. The board was very kind enough, as the board remembers, during the spring town meeting to supplement the rec department with $50,000 for this position, and the rest of the position is gonna come out of the revolving account there. So I'm looking really forward to Dan working on this and getting it rolling, and he's excited too, so.
Hey, Steve, I just hope that it's the out-of-towners that have to pay for the, to use it.
Well, yeah.
And hopefully, it's as close to free as it can
Everyone
get
has to
for
pay
the-
a little bit, but I
for
get
the-
what you're
For the
saying, yeah.
families of Wakefield, but.
And he reports directly to you? Is that the
Yes.
setup, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, that's super. I'll just echo, we all said, I'll echo what Tiz said. If you need anything from us, come here any night or any time between meetings, whatever it takes, through Steve, whatever you need. We're happy to entertain anything and try to get stuff done for you, so.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
It's
it.
nice to see folks like you and Mary Ann behind you come in with lots of energy and lots of new and fresh ideas. Those are the kind of things we want to see. Great leadership are things we'll support wherever we can.
Great.
So,
Thank you so very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we get to the next person
go
on our
ahead.
agenda, I'd like to welcome Bill Boudry to the table. Now you gotta move a few feet. Say 2 words and I'll turn it over
Please,
to you,
no,
Mr.
please, go
Chairman.
ahead.
This spring, when, I learned that our current rec program was gonna be rudderless, because what we had been, a couple of teachers were kind of working it and bringing it forward, and I think we all knew we needed to do more, but we had some other things we had to get going. I was very concerned that we would have nothing this year. But Bill actually called me up, came in to visit me, and said, Steve, I'd like to help out. I'd like to help the town. And Bill has a great experience in this town, working with kids, coaching kids. He's older than me, so he's coached a couple of my kids over the years, and has just done a great job and really helped us out tremendously, and didn't ask for a nickel from the town, nothing. Volunteered his time, and that's pretty rare. So I want to thank you publicly, Bill, for all that you did and all the work that you did, and not only just looking at the running the day-to-day, but benchmarking programs and looking forward to what is the best practice, and really helping to move us forward and giving us a little bit of background and to work on some other things. So publicly, I wanted to thank you, like I mentioned it. And I turn it over to you now, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
thank you. From the board, on behalf of the board, thank you very much. We, through Steve's doing and foresight, we do have a gift certificate for you to show our appreciation for all you've done, so.
Thank you.
Present that.
Thanks, Brian.
There you go, you're welcome.
Okay,
Thank you,
appreciate it.
really.
Wouldn't mind saying a few words?
Yeah,
if
go
I
ahead,
can,
and then
Mr.
I'll
Chairman.
let the board members comment.
Yeah,
So, go ahead.
first of all, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to come before you, and Steve, you didn't have to do this, but I thank you very much. I am delighted that the board decided to invest in recreation in Wakefield. I was on the Recreation Commission for 17 years. Long time ago, when I was 19 years old, Dan, when you those great programs you were talking about, I was on the Recreation Commission. So it can happen. Dan, delighted to meet you. Hope I have a chance to talk to you. You passed the acid test with my wife today. So you're a great young man. Those beautiful new office you're moving into. Because I urged Steve to say we've got to get out of the cellar if we want to make this, program be something to be recognized in town. So again, I thank the board for investing. I'm on the finance committee, and it came before us, and it was enthusiastically received. So with Steve's vision and Dan, I know recreation will make a terrific program in town. I just want to say quickly, it was a fascinating experience for me, and along the way, people like Sherry and Tom Mullen were of great help to me. Steve has a great team of people: Rick Stinson, Dennis Fazio, Chris Pierce, Dave Knox and his team, Lori Riley, and I even have to mention Kevin Gill. They all helped me. They were patient with the fact because the program was in a lot of flux and a lot of turnover had been going on, but very, very helpful. And I was fortunate enough along the way to hire Samantha Rush, and she worked as an intern and really took over a lot of management of the program as I went to work for Keolis. You don't know that, Paul, do you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
LinkedIn.
And Akash Altman, who's a senior in Wakefield High School, did a lot of work on the website. So really, was a wonderful experience for me to get to work closely with people in town on Steve's team, and I'm so impressed with the passion they have for the work they do. So, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Bill.
Great. Anybody? Pat?
Start off again. Bill, I've known you personally and professionally for probably 25 years now, and, you know, professionally, Bill is top-notch. He's been in business for years. He's a very reliable guy, and personally, you know, there's a lot of people we get to meet in this game of running the town, and there's a lot of people that you meet in town about their business, willing to jump in and help however they possibly can, and have, you know, grown up in the town, lived in the town, and have a tremendous amount of pride in the town. And Bill, you certainly are right in that group. There's so many of those types of people in this town that we're fortunate enough to meet, and to have so many of them, and certainly someone like you stepping into this position when we need you, you know, not asking for a dime. You were probably uncomfortable about coming tonight, but I'm glad you did, because you deserve credit. You know, you and your family have all been, you know, great citizens and great contributors to the community. So,
Thanks very much, Pat.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat. Anybody else? We good? Okay, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Really
much.
greatly
Thanks,
appreciate
Bill.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Good luck on the new job.
Thank you. We'll talk to you.
All right, next up is our new signage off. Bob Sardella. Come right up. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I guess I want to start by first publicly thanking Steve Mayo, the entire Board of Selectmen, and Jack Roberto for having the confidence in me to take on this entire project. And we've already started with some small results, even in the 2 weeks that I've been doing this. And it was a bit of an emotional decision on my part, because in part I had to recuse myself from taking on any more permitted type signage in town, so there would not be any type of conflict. But I'm finding it that it's going to be something that I'm going to be able to put in my type of influence and participation in a different way than I ever expected I was going to, after doing this type of work for 41 years in town. And little did I think that as of last October, when I had sent a letter in, sort of explaining my frustration as to what was going on, to actually be sitting here now and being a major part in correcting it.
Right.
So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, welcome. Let's go around the new video.
That's probably why you are here now, because of that reason.
So it happens when you speak up, right?
Yeah, I know.
I got a problem with this one.
I've known
You're empowered.
Bob
I opened my
Sardella.
mouth.
Yeah.
I've known Bob Sardella for a long time, and I think you'll do a great job. However, when I run again, when I run again, you will make my signs for me, right?
No conflict there.
Well, yeah, geez.
Thank you. Bob, congratulations on the new position.
Thank you.
We've worked together on a few different things, and I think you're going to do very well on this position. You have a keen eye for things.
Thank you.
Details is going to be the issue, but you have a lot of direction. People will be pointing fingers as to how about that and how about that, and when's this going to be taken care of. So you have a task in front of you. So, but I think you can handle it. So good luck.
Thank you. With, some of the coaching by Jack Roberto, who's, with the knowledge he has on just some of these issues here, that me being on the other side of the counter for all those years, I didn't see. And now I'm wearing these other shoes. It's good to have him, talking in one ear to me too about all these things. And, but also listening to the public, and also being a vice president on the Chamber of Commerce. It's going to be a great bridge toward the community that way. And I hope that the people, all the merchants, will look at me as someone not coming in there as the sign cop.
Right.
But more someone who may be, educate a little bit, explain why this is this way and has to be that way, and we'll be able to all work together that way and make it happen.
That's great. Anybody else? I have a few things.
Just real quick, Bob, congratulations. I think it's really important, this position, because it's been lacking in the town, the enforcement of it, number one. But I think it's the goal of the town, especially with the downtown area, to try to make it as uniform as possible and make it look as nice as possible. So we need a lot of help in that. So good luck with it. Hopefully this thing works out, and I think you'll do a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just, this is a near and dear issue to my own heart. In fact, several of us in this room participated, including Chip in the back row there, in researching and drafting the new sign bylaw. I say new, but it'll be new until it's enforced, and then it'll be old, so. I think incidentally, you've touched on a lot of great points. You are the kind of perfect person for the job, because you understand what it takes to make or change a sign. When somebody says that's gonna be too expensive, you can say, whoa, you could do that for $200, not 2,000, and help set the record straight and take some of the fear and some of the uncertainty out of it and help people, really be a guide for people. I think one of the things we've all talked about is that out of the gate, your role is more, outreach and education than it is enforcement. So it's almost like, everybody's got a little bit of freedom for 3 months, 6 months, whatever you feel it's comfortable, to help have people understand, like you said, that you're not the sign police, you're the sign guide to
Right.
help people do the right thing, help them do a cost-effective burden on businesses, but we do want to help them improve. And we all know, we don't all know, but they will know with you out there that statistically these type of activities generally increase revenue, increase foot traffic. So.
Right.
People might have to make a minor investment in their businesses, but the return is overwhelming on this type of thing. So I think it's great, welcome the connection between, your role for the town and your role in the Chamber of Commerce, and obviously with Mary Ann, that's what I was talking about before, Mary Ann. That is huge, right? So you're not the villain, you're the nice guy that everybody knows, and you're gonna help be basically the go-between between the town and the law and the ZBA, the building inspector's office and the businesses in town. So you're really an ambassador more than anything, I think, at least for the first year or so. And I think it's gonna do wonders in helping people understand what we're trying to do and get them on board. So wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next item on our agenda are scheduling 2 public hearings. The first one is for the transfer of the Jeffrey's Liquors package store license. We're looking to schedule that on September 29th at 7:35 p.m. Can I get a motion?
Come on.
Moved by Tiz, second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The second hearing we want to schedule is for Massimo's Ristorante for an all-alcohol liquor license. That's 2 we'd like to schedule for September 29th, 2014 at 7:45 p.m. Got a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Paul, second by
Question?
Pat.
One question? Discussion?
Moved by Paul, second by Pat. Discussion.
Just a real quick, do they have right now?
There is an issue with their application at the ABCC that needs to be addressed, so the answer is no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's just a modification, so. Okay, all in favor of scheduling the hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Next item is a potential sale of real estate, and Steve and Tom are gonna present this.
I'll jump in and then Tom can take over. As the board may recall, back, I think it was in March, we had a very spirited meeting here, chaired by Chairman Dotto at the time, regarding a acceptance of an easement, a conservation easement on Stark Ave, that purportedly would have allowed a building on Stark Ave to occur, building of a single-family home. At that time, there was a lot of the neighborhood here that didn't feel that that was an appropriate spot to build. And did not accept the easement and gave me the charge to meet with the neighborhood, meet with the owner, to see if we couldn't come up with some other solution to make this work. In meeting with the neighborhood, meeting with the owner, and meeting with Town Council Mullen, I think there is a option that may work, that may help everybody in the area, and seems to be acceptable to everybody in the area right now. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tom Mullen. It will take some town meeting action, so.
Mr. Chairman, the neighbors proposed what can best be described as a land swap. Pursuant to the swap, Mr. Anjum, the developer, would give the town the lot that we had been talking about putting an easement through, and also an adjoining lot, which the purported to take for taxes years ago, but there is a problem with the taking, and as a result, it actually belongs to Mr. Anjum and would have to be taken all over again. The two lots, just for the record, and I know this is kind of meaningless if you don't have a plan in front of you, are W223A. I'm sorry, you do?
They have.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Back, yeah.
And 24A. In return, the town would give Mr. Anjum Lot 85A, which abuts Upland Street. And that would then become a buildable lot. And the town would take the two lots that he gives us and use them for conservation purposes. So the town would clearly get the better part of the bargain, both in terms of sheer quantity of land and also the value of land. The two lots that the town would get would come to almost 4.2 acres, worth a total of, by assessed value, $102,900. He would get 1.3 acres with an assessed value of $52,300. You cannot do a land swap under Chapter 30B, which is the State Procurement Act. You need special legislation. If you go for special legislation, the legislature will almost surely say no if the State Inspector General opposes you. So I contacted the Inspector General's office, explained what we proposed to do, and tried to get them at least to say up front that they would not oppose it. They were actually very cooperative. Their position is, we always advise towns to proceed pursuant to 30B. But if you want to ask the legislature for a land swap, we won't oppose if it looks like the community is getting the better part of the bargain, which we are here. Just include as much of the provisions of 30B as are applicable, such as declaring the land surplus before disposing of it, making sure you have adequate values for the land, and we do because our assessments are pretty good. So the Inspector General will not stand in the way. What I propose to do is, if you authorize me, I will draft an appropriate article for the next town meeting warrant, which will be to approve special legislation that would be submitted to the legislature with a request that it be enacted. And I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
Who declares the land surplus? Is that a town meeting act as well, or is that something,
That'd be the Board of Selectmen.
so you need us to do that just sometime before town meeting?
Well, no, actually, anytime after the special legislation is passed.
Oh, after the,
Yeah.
okay, all right, good. This isn't you're not giving away Lot 85A, are you? So,
No. We need it for restaurant week, so, no.
Tom, I think this is a great deal. I think it's, Steve, good job putting it together and finding a compromise. You know, that last vote was probably one of the more difficult votes I've ever been involved with. I felt terrible that I had to vote against the developer. I mean, I think he owned the land and he felt like it was fair for him to do what he was planning to do, but it was such a hazy deal with that tax lien, or that tax title issue, and the fact that it had been sitting for 30 years. It just didn't pass all the muster that we needed to pass it that night. And I think the board was very much split on it. So I'd be in full favor of, a workout that both the residents that abut this property as well as the developer are in favor of, and, by the way, the town makes out in the deal. I think everybody wins, so I'm in favor of it.
Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tom, just a quick question. Is the property that we're, 85A, is that fronted on Upland, or is it fronted on Holland? Do you know?
It has frontage on Upland.
Upland Road.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's my only question.
Ed?
I would urge that all the neighbors who are in favor of this come to town meeting, because I can see a vote like this having a problem at town meeting. Once we start talking about swapping land and other people within the town who have absolutely no connection, I imagine may vote against it. So I really hope that the neighbors and those impacted come speak about why they think this is a good deal. Do think it's a good deal. And it was I wouldn't call it a contentious meeting we had in March. Everyone was very friendly at the end, but they were very strong about their side. So I would hope that the people involved come and voice those same opinions.
That's right. I agree. Anybody else? Good? Yeah, I would agree. I think the meeting was disturbing back in March. It was probably a good word. And,
It ended
yeah,
well.
yeah, it ended okay, right? But, yeah, people should come and make sure we're clear on what's going on here, and that this is a positive deal, and it also settles an issue for fellow members of the community. So everyone walks away happy. I mean, kudos to Steve. I mean, tremendous job getting that done.
Well,
'cause I
really,
was
the
looking over-
neighborhood really
Yeah.
came together on this. and,
Yeah.
Clearly.
As did Mr. Anjum. I mean, we had a number of meetings and 20 people there, all kind of working to common goal. It worked out very well. So I'm sure the neighborhood will be there for
Good.
this.
Great.
Very good.
Good job, Steve. Thank you very much. Super.
Well, I hope at a town meeting that we will not have a problem, because I voted opposite than Pat, because I thought the gentleman deserved to have that land at that time. I did not agree with the neighbors, so I hope we don't have any kind of a problem. I hope the people will go to town meeting and see how much work Steve and Mr. Mullen has made and goes along with this.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, just one quick question. So, we would vote at this town meeting to kind of enact the legislation. Do we then need a vote to, like a 2/3 vote at town meeting to actually convey the property and do the deal, or is this kind of
No,
one-stop shopping?
it would be a majority vote to ask the legislature for special legislation authorizing this particular transaction. Now, the legislature might say, we want you, we'll pass that, but on condition that you get a 2/3 vote out of town meeting. I think that's unlikely, because to the extent that we are acquiring property for conservation land, we don't even need to go to town meeting for that. Under Chapter 40, Section 8C, you can acquire conservation land by
But we're
action of the Board of
conveying.
Selectmen and the Conservation Commission. And to the extent that we are conveying land that we acquired through tax title, which is 85A, we can do that through public auction or an RFP process without the town meeting approval.
Okay. All right, great. Super.
I think we want to
All set on that?
Yeah, so I think I'd
Do
just
you
like
need
a
anything this
motion,
evening? Yeah.
a motion authorizing or instructing me to prepare an appropriate article for the fall town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Phyllis, second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next item up on our agenda is Mr. Tarbell. School Facilities Report. Citizen of the Year. Welcome.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
I don't know if you want that or
Yeah,
not, but,
well, we do have a clock, we're watching it.
well, thank you for having me here tonight, and giving you the opportunity to hear about some great work done by some people in town. As a background, must be almost about 9 months ago, Dr. Reich came to me and said, we need to assemble a group of individuals to look at our schools and what's happening with them. And because he was kind of trying to get a feel as a new superintendent of where he stood and what he had. and how he was supposed to be interacting with people and what he had. So he put together a group of people to look at the facilities and to call it a task force. I headed that group. With me, there were a number of parents that did a lot of great work. Julie Cosgrove, Jason Cohen, Emilio Liccardi, Sean Margerson, who's also chairman of the Wakefield Capital Committee, Todd Stevenson. There were also 3 members of the school community, Margot Perillo, who at that time was the principal of the Walton, who is now the head of the ECC, Sue Siebeking, who's the school nurse at Dolbear, and Joy Schilling, who's an art teacher at the high school. And we were asked to look at 3 different things: the operations from a maintenance standpoint, the operations from a janitorial and cleaning standpoint, the capital improvements and needs of all the schools. To get started, we met with a number of town officials. Our first meeting actually took place with Rick Stinson and Steve Mayo to find out how we got to where we are. You know, how is it that what is set up, you know, the process, and how did we get there? And really, it comes down to that when the town charter was passed, there was one paragraph of guidance and directions in regards to the maintenance of town buildings and grounds. And if you just let me, it comes under section 5-2 of the Department of Public Works, B, operations. Buried in item 10, it says maintenance of all town-owned buildings, grounds, and facilities, excluding facilities of the WMGLD, including but not limited to maintenance of school buildings and grounds with the exception of school janitorial duties, which shall be a function of the school department, are a process of and work within the DPW. That's the guidance the charter gave the town, how to form a maintenance and operational program for the schools. In my opinion, that's very little guidance. So it has happened over the years. So between Steve and Rick and the schools, they've kind of meshed. And the way it basically works is, from a town standpoint, if it's mechanical, electrical, ventilation, heating, or if it takes that type of person to do that job, the town handles it, meaning under the direction of Rick Stinson. If it's cleaning or janitorial, it happens under the school. And Peter Evangelista and his group of janitors, under the guidance of, it has in the past been the business manager, but ultimately the superintendent of schools. Then Chris and Peter need to discuss, decide, argue about who pays for what, when, how, and mesh these 2 bodies together to get the work done. Not sometimes their missions, their desires, their wants and needs don't tend to mesh. Oftentimes it does. And I would say that Peter and Chris have taken this challenge and worked pretty well together. Given actually a lot of stumbling blocks. I mean, as an example, the town has a work order system, the school has a work order system, they don't talk to each other. So in order to communicate in this age of electronics and everything else, they have to call or physically see each other every day to find out who's doing what. It's a little bit backwards. So we met with, after we met with Steve and Rick, we sat down with Chris and Peter, and they kind of explained to us how this whole system works, and it's basically how I just explained it to you. We then went and toured the schools, and without getting into the nitty-gritty of what we found, there were some basic themes. On the operations maintenance side, we found that although things were pretty well taken care of, a lot of maintenance wasn't being done, a lot of heating and ventilation issues weren't being taken care of. The prime example of this is at the Dole School. First of all, they've had problems with the heating and ventilation of Dole since it was built. But more importantly, in the last 3 to 4 years, the heating system basically hasn't worked as designed. There'd be one room where the kids would be going to class in coats, and another room where they'd be in t-shirts. Because in one room it was hot, the next room it was cold, and it was really that dramatic. There is a report done, and there is work being done currently to fix that problem, but that problem lasted for 3 or 4 years. And there didn't seem to be a sense of urgency to take care of it. Although the school kept sending work orders, and we knew there, to get to a point where we're getting it fixed took a while. That's an example. There's heating and ventilation seems to be the largest issue. There's issues in Woodville, there's issues in Dole there's issues at the high school, all under heating and ventilation. It's pretty easy not to have issues with ventilation at the Greenwood because there is none. Okay, there's heating, that sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. That boiler is very old. But, so that's kind of the general theme under the maintenance side. Other than scoreboards possibly not working and trying to decide whose job it is to fix it, or highlights not working and when can they be replaced. On the operations janitorial side, we found that all the schools were probably getting, I'd say, picked up, general term, but the deep cleaning wasn't taking place. The sanitization of the bathrooms on a daily basis. A term that's used now is cleaning for health, meaning doorknobs, tabletops, anything that the kids are gonna pick up and carry germs around with. Some of that may not be happening. The schools, I made fun of the Greenwood only having a heating system, but that as a school was one of the best kept and cared for schools that we saw. And that's it is the oldest school that we have. So that we found a number of things. We found teachers on a number of the gyms that wouldn't turn on the fans because if they turned on the fans, the dust would come down on the kids. There were issues like that. And a lot of that is training, scheduling issues. One of the things that keeps coming back to me, and it's all about talking about a town's assets, is that when we look at the town assets, about 88% of the buildings owned by the town, or about 80%, excuse me, of the buildings owned by the town are schools. Okay? That's a huge amount of square footage that the town controls, owns, and is responsible for. 20% is the town hall, the senior center, the buildings at the cemetery. So when you look at that, the schools really should be taking a big portion of the maintenance and dollars that are expended towards facilities. And I'm not always sure that it doesn't seem that the priorities may always be in the right places, or that have been in the right places. And to the history of not having a capital fund for how many years the town didn't have capital. We think about that capital of $2 million is a lot of money. To give you a perspective of what it was, I ran the operations and facilities of a private boys' school right down the street. We had $3 million a year to spend on capital improvements a year for those 15 buildings that were on that campus. We have $2 million as a town to take care of the fire department for us, the police department, vehicles, buildings, all of the needs in town. So we don't have a lot of money to be putting into capital. We need to keep looking at that as we move forward, and I know we are, but you can never fund capital enough. Because, you know, all the schools, we toured. A lot of this was predicated upon putting the Galvin online and seeing what a great facility that is, what great science classrooms that's gonna have, what great project rooms that's gonna have, collaborative teacher spaces that has, where teachers can get together and talk and communicate and not be, yelling over each other from within classrooms, and project rooms where kids can get into, and rooms where STEM can be taught. I mean, there's basically a robotics lab that's been created at the Galvin. So a lot of the questions that came up is on the capital needs, is where does this town now go from the Galvin? We're shipping 8th graders up to the high school. Classrooms alone don't compare to what they're gonna be leaving at the Galvin. They don't have the proper ventilation, they don't have good IT and technology. When we toured there, it was really disappointing to see what facilities we had at the high school. It's also been that Wakefield has taken buildings that weren't built as what they are being used for, right? The old Galvin wasn't built as a middle school, right? The current high school wasn't built as a high school. So we've retrofitted a lot of buildings in the past to meet the needs of the town. Not a bad thing. But what it does do is it doesn't necessarily address the type of building that you would build if you were starting anew or starting fresh. One of the things we learned at the high school is that the high school is under kind of warning for accreditation based upon the HVAC system and based upon the lack of science classrooms. Not lack of science classrooms, but the science facilities. And the school department actually has to report to the state ed of what they're doing. Part of that is a report from RDK Engineers came out while we were looking at these facilities to examine the HVAC systems at the high school, and it was reported that it would take about $17.5 million to get the systems up to standard. So that was kind of everybody kind of took a deep swallow. Again, it comes from units not being replaced, they're old, and not having the capital for the town to be able to keep their buildings to the standard that they would like to. We basically came up with 4 recommendations. What we realized is is when we started looking at the janitorial and maintenance issues and how that works, we found that it's a pretty big issue. That mesh, that town-school mesh, which we've all heard about so much, needs a further step. The 4 months that we spent looking at it isn't enough. So one of our recommendations is that the town administrator and superintendent of schools establish a committee to review the current management system, DPW and school. Create a detailed review of how the system can be combined to act as one, and what it will take to do that, including but not limited to staffing, salaries and pay scales, budgets, procedures, etc. This would include looking at the janitorial configuration as it stands or overhauling it as needed. The town and schools were thrown into this system by the charter once without much direction. It's now time to get it right if it's going to change and improve. That's one of them. The other thing that we found when we're looking at this organization is that these schools get a ton of use. And it's not just the schools, it's the schools and fields. Right, if you look at the athletic fields, whether it's Landrigan, Beasley, the new field at Galvin, the schools probably use the fields less than 50% of the time. The rest of the use of these fields are from, and I'll say they're outside organizations, but non-school related functions, because I don't necessarily want to say that Wakefield Youth Soccer is a non-town program, but it's a non-school based program. The WBA is a non-school based program. Wakefield Academy is even is kind of a non-school based program. It's the before school and after school programs. These programs put a ton of burden on our facilities, our assets. And we're not really being compensated appropriately for their uses. We are in some cases, we aren't in others. I know that with the Galvin coming on, Leslie College it was in the paper that they're looking at possibly using some space. So one of the things we found is that because of all these burdens, we think that we need to start looking at how they get paid for, how they impact, and how maybe rents or use fees or whatever can go back in supplementing the maintenance and care for some of these buildings. So the second recommendation would be, again, that the town administrator and superintendent of schools should establish a committee to coordinate and approve all indoor and exterior facility functions. This committee would evaluate and coordinate events, staffing, cleaning, maintenance activities, facility shutdowns, etc. This committee would also determine the appropriate fees, the groups based on the usage. The committee might include but not be limited to the school athletic director, school and town facility managers, your new recreation director, the business manager, school principals. And the groups to look at would be, any group using the school that's a non-school based function. That would be Wakefield Academy, WBA, Leslie, and any other groups. And it'd be all indoor and outdoor facilities. One of the things, and I know Steve and I have had conversations about this, is we have great new fields right now. Wonderful new fields. They all have to be replaced in 15 years. They will have to be replaced. Who's going to take that burden on? No, it's not $100,000. I mean, it's millions of dollars that are going to need to be spent in 15 years for replacement. Start looking at how to fund that now. And maybe this is one of the ways to do it, maybe not. But we need to start, gym floors need to be refinished. In order to keep the facilities to the standards that I think we all want them to be, we need to have the funds to be able to do it. And this may be one of the other ways. That kind of took care of the maintenance, both from an operational standpoint and from a cleaning and janitorial standpoint, those two recommendations. I think those would go far in designing a new way to look at those assets and manage those assets. And I think it should not only include the schools, but look at all our assets as a whole, town hall, the senior center, all of that. Because when you talk about merging, you've got to look at budgets and salaries across the board. And it's particularly if it all comes under the DPW or whatever. So it's a big question, but the time is right to do it now, and we shouldn't delay in looking at that. So then we come to, okay, we've got a beautiful Galvin, we take care of all the operational needs, we're cleaning our schools beautifully. What's next? Well, there are two areas. One is that the high school, is an area that we need to look at. And two is the combination of the Greenwood and Walton schools to make a third elementary school the size of the Woodville and the Dolbear. So let's talk about the high school first. We have a recommendation that the town fund a feasibility study to look at the needs of the high school. This study would be the first step to develop a plan for the renovation and funding of a major rehabilitation and additions to the existing high school. It would help us determine the scope and size of the project needed to bring the high school into alignment with the Galvin Middle School. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say, we've already spent too much money on schools, right? We just spent 75 million on the Galvin. The high school really doesn't need to be upgraded. But if you look at the RDK study of 17.5 million needs to be invested in the HVAC system, that the science labs aren't up to standard. You know, something has to be done. I don't know whether it's a full rehab. I don't know whether it's a tear down and build somewhere else. But that needs to be looked at. Now, some would say that the MSBA and ask them. This is the first step to be able to, what I think is to make a statement of intent to the MSBA. Because we really don't know what we want. Is it a rehab? Is it a new school? We need to get our hands around exactly what's needed. So this would be like an elementary and beginning step to be able to then write a really cohesive statement of interest to the MSBA to look for funding from them. You know, the second one is no surprise to anybody at this table. Phyllis has been hearing about a Greenwood rehab for how many years, Phyllis?
Oh, 30 years.
Only?
Oh, as soon as Mary Tetch got, since she got involved with the school committee, and even before that, we used to go down there and clean the downstairs ourselves. But I don't want the Greenwood School torn down.
No, I think there's a lot of
I want
uses
the
for the
Greenwood
Greenwood
School made wonderful for those young children, because they've put up with a lot. So,
there's a lot to look at from the elementary basis, which is that from an elementary school, look, is you've got the Dolbear and the Woodville. From a school standpoint, the right thing to do is have a third elementary school an equivalent size of the Dolbear and Woodville. That would mean combining Greenwood and Walton. That, from an educational standpoint, is the right direction to go. You know, so the fourth recommendation is the town needs to fund a feasibility study to examine the location and size of the combined Greenwood and Walton schools. The study would be the first step in developing a plan for the location and size. It would determine the scope and potential cost of the project. So in kind of conclusion, our committee believed that these four recommendations are essential to moving the town and schools forward in the direction to allow us to continue to strive for excellence, not only in the classroom, but also in our buildings, our assets as well. That study took about 7 or 8 months, and we just really skimmed the surface of it. But I do think it's important to keep moving forward. I don't think we should lose traction, and that's kind of what we did.
Great, thank you, Chip. That was excellent for us getting it kind of firsthand here. It didn't sound like you skimmed any surfaces. Sounds like you went pretty deep with just a small group of volunteers, and clearly they had the right leader. So great report and great job. And you know, as per usual, I'm sure there's comments around the table. Anybody? Pat?
oh, I have a lot to say.
Oh,
I'll defer.
Phyllis?
I'll defer. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Go ahead. Phyllis.
First, I want to say, Mr. Towville, that I read your article, that first article. See, I've been involved, and I agree. I agree with a lot of the things that you've said there. But my blood pressure right now must be 200 over 100, because these plans are wonderful, but you people, the people have to understand, this board has to understand that the people in this town cannot afford all these things that they want to do. And we've brought this on ourselves. I know, I've been fighting it for years. You know, you talk about doing a feasibility studies, you know, for years. And one of the things that bother me the most are not like taking care of what the DP. The thing that has me so frustrated is the maintenance of all the buildings in town. The maintenance from the safety building to the high school, to all the schools, to the town hall. I know, I've visited them all. I've been with the people, I've seen what's going on. I made these notes, I've got to get it out of my system because I'm not gonna go along with spending a lot more money to build new schools. Now, you talked today about the high school. What is wrong with us? For years and years, why can't we keep our schools clean? We just built a new Galvin, why? For 20 years, I've been saying, clean the schools, clean it up. We just don't clean them on purpose. The same thing is happening with the high school. When I hear rumblings about a new high school, I lose it. Because I just can't say that they're just a little dusty and dirty. They're filthy. And when you talk about that Dolbear school, you're absolutely right. When that school was built, I can see Jack Roberto going, the tiles were falling off, right? Within a month. I'm sorry to go through this, but the people in this town have to realize that we do not want to spend a lot of our taxes raised again from new schools, and the roof leaked. They don't make any plans like you're saying. Why don't we plan for 5 years? For 5 years, we'll paint all this, we'll do this, we'll paint this. We do nothing. We've done nothing. We haven't done anything. I just can't believe what's going on. And then the safety building, the people that built it, they put in all the wrong windows, right? Who paid for them? We, the taxpayers. And I see this stuff every day. I'm sorry, and there's no communications. What you said is true. There is no communications between this department or that department. And I'm talking very strongly about this. I mean, everybody can make their comments, feel how they feel, but this is how I feel. The maintenance of our buildings, we cannot do it. We don't know how to do it. We don't know how to keep them clean. And you're right, the charter, I feel the charter has to be changed. We have to outsource it where we can go to the people and say, you have to do this. This is what we're paying you for. You maintain it, you do it. So,
Good.
and that's how I feel.
Thank you, Phyllis. Appreciate it. Pat? go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, I have to agree with Phyllis, and I think Chip doesn't hide from that, and Chip agrees. The cleaning, you state very, if anybody read Chip's full report, there's wax buildup, there's things that are just inexcusable. That people are being paid to do these jobs and the stuff's not getting done. You cite that either further training is required or management restructure, which management restructure could mean a whole lot of things. So I don't argue with you, Phyllis. I feel the same way you do. I manage buildings, professional buildings, for a living. And we're held to a very high standard. If we don't do it, we lose the contract. And if we lose the contract, we're out of a job. So we need to raise our standards for the people that are working for us. As far as people meshing together, it's a little disappointing that it hasn't already happened, that people don't just kind of say, I don't care whose job it is, pick the ball up and run with it. You know, if there's dust on a fan, somebody, and it shouldn't have to be the teacher, should say, you know, we need to get somebody who's registered to work on a lift, rent the lift, or get somebody in here and clean it. I saw it in the Dolbear gym. My kids were there when that school was new. Not 3 years after we were there were balls stuck up in the ceiling. There were, the fans were dusty. There's dust on the beams on top. Nobody addresses it, and I can't explain why, but it's a failure. That all aside, the fact, Chip's point about capital and deferring capital. Now, if you own real estate, it's not a question of if you want to do it, or if you'd like to do it, or we either own real estate and we maintain it, or we don't. And part of that is having a capital schedule, and the Capital Improvement Committee that was formed a few years ago has done a great job of identifying the top items on the capital list every year. Very hard to get. I think Sean Majerison and his committee has done a great job of trying to identify these things. You know, we bought a new fire engine. You know, there are all kinds of things, assets we have around town. Pump houses for water, domestic water, whatever it may be. So if you own these assets, you own buildings, it's not a question of if you want to do it or not. You have to do it. And if you don't do it, you defer the maintenance, you save the money, but HVAC systems as a rule last about 20 to 25 years tops. Coils get plugged, fins get deteriorated, fans get caked or out of balance or deteriorate. Systems need to be upgraded, cleaned, and some, yes, replaced over time. It's a fact. Facades, they get water infiltration, roofs brittle and stretch, termination bars, things pull away. Things deteriorate over time. You can't change that, and we do have to invest. And if we don't, it's going to cost us even more in the long term. So, and some of that is what we're seeing right now. So, my stance on this is, I think I'm in favor of whatever we need to do to get our management house in order. Whatever we need to do to make sure that these, because I heard loud and clear as the head of the Galvin Advisory Committee, that you know, yeah, we're gonna put this money forward on a brand new facility. However, what are you gonna do to maintain it? How are we gonna do things different going forward? And I will say that whoever is responsible needs autonomy to do their job, to direct people and to be directly responsible for the minimum that can be held accountable. And high standards need to be met for cleaning, production rates for cleaners, you know, whatever. Across the gamut, there needs to be levels that it's maintained like a Class A facility, similar to, you know, ones of their kind that are also well-maintained. So that's what I have to say.
I'd like to say one more thing, Chip, because I know you've done a good job and this is important. But do you know what it's like? Because this is important to the people of the town. I'm here, that's my voice. My voice is for the townspeople, and this is what I hear. When I hear that they're considering tearing down the high school, do they stop to think we just spent over $1 million putting in a new auditorium and a theater in there, and if you've been up there, which I've been not too long ago, they clean. And then I think about St. Joseph's, a school that's over 100 years old. Someone ought to take a lesson from them. They get whatever they need to get, they plan for it, it's immaculate, whatever technology they need, they plan. This is one of the things that we have never done, and that has to be done.
Thank you.
Phyllis, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think the report goes exactly to your point.
Yes.
And just to be clear, the report doesn't say tear down the whole other school. The report says to look at the high school and determine what is needed, whether it's a rehabilitation, a refurbishing, some additions to give some extra space, and then look at what's cost effective and the best way to spend the town's money.
Yeah, so, I'll messenger a little bit here almost, right? Just,
I'm okay.
right? So, right. And I know if there's anybody who could handle it, Chip could, but let's remember, Chip has been the good public servant who has led a team of volunteers to just go take a look and report to us on what's out there. So Well, it's fun to have somebody to throw rocks
I
at. It's probably not the guy.
understand that. And that's-
No, I
and
know, I
Nobody's
just,
throwing
you know,
rocks.
for people watching at home too, Chip doesn't run this stuff, he's just been asked to, again, volunteer to report on it, so, and he's done a great job, obviously.
He's done a great job, and I was really impressed. This is what made me do what I did tonight, because I read what you put in the paper.
Three.
I have a question,
Right.
Chip. It seems to me with regard to the janitorial responsibilities, that's something that should be able to it should happen quickly, in this sense. And I think Brian and I are closest to the elementary schools than anyone else here. And, myself probably more than you, I was in there once or twice a day, a week, sometimes more volunteering. And I would bring my own cleaning supplies to clean certain areas, and the janitors would be helpful, but part of me thinks it was lack of supervision or knowing what they could do, how to do it. That can be handled now, tomorrow, can it? I mean, I teach my son how to wipe the floor down because he doesn't know how to do it, and
He does not do that.
and he doesn't do it. No, he ignores me. I get that. But some of it seems that it should be able, that should be able to be done. I don't understand. And you don't know this question, but you know what I'm getting at? You said a lot of these things operationally I get. But I was wondering
I think a
in
lot-
your discussion.
I will say that I think a lot of it comes down to training
Yeah.
and supervision.
Right. Okay.
And I think you are right, that one of the other things that has happened over the years, and it's a long process, which is that if you have a staff that hasn't been held to high standards.
Right.
And by the way, the staff will fight and argue that they do a good job, because I think they do as good a job as they've been taught
Well,
to do.
that's
And I
my
think
point.
they look at it and they believe in their heart of hearts,
Sure.
because many of them are Wakefield people,
Right.
that they're doing the right thing,
Right.
and they are doing a good job. They're also so close to it
Yeah.
that they can't see it.
Sure.
They do it over and over again, and they're, and a lot of the argument is, we'll clean it every day. Tomorrow, an hour after school started, it's dirty again. Well, I get that, but that's their job.
Right.
Okay. So I do think that with some training, they have but it takes training, supervision, guidelines, standards.
Would they be
I
better,
think
And I think you have to change,
The organizational structure.
and I think you have to change the mentality of what the standard should be, and where they're okay. And
This was great, though. This was so informative and
Nice job.
wonderful first step. Wonderful.
yeah, Paul's, just before I go to you, Paul, sorry, would it make sense, I keep hearing about the divide between, the DPW and the janitors, would it make sense to just roll the janitorial staff under the DPW? and
Well, I
have-
think
You know,
that one
one
of the
belly button, right?
recommendations
So-
is to form a group to look at combining the two.
Yeah, I mean.
I don't think you can have a building where there's just too much discussion
Yeah.
there's too much time wasted about whose responsibility it is.
Right.
It needs to be, the town, here, if I drew a big picture, needs to have a facilities department under the DPW, in my opinion,
Yeah,
that manages both the mechanical operation and the janitorial of all the town's buildings. That way,
Yeah.
something's wrong, it's that guy. Done.
it's that guy, or that guy's responsibility.
Yeah.
Or somebody saying, okay, go fix it.
Yeah,
And somebody bringing up, not having work orders at the Dolbear saying heat's a problem. And unfortunately, there's been a town-school divide, whether it's IT or whatever, and the way the charter's set up, it's set up for more of a divide, and I think the town has done a pretty good job of trying to mesh. I'm not saying that, and, I feel like I've thrown this dark cloud. The town, Rick Stinson's and his guys, and Peter Evangelista and his guys, try to do the best they can, but they're working under bosses. Rick controls Chris and the maintenance guys, and ultimately Steve Riker, the business manager, control the janitorial staff. And it really ends up that the principals
Right.
are managing the janitorial staff. So think about this, the principals of the schools that are supposed to be educating your kids are worrying about whether bathrooms get cleaned or not. It makes no sense. That's not their job. Their job aren't property managers, their jobs are educators. Let them educate and let the people that can do property management do property management. And that's what we're running. We're running a property management company for hundreds and thousands of square feet that we're putting our kids into.
Have you given any thought as to what I said about changing the charter and having the maintenance, the cleaning and everything outsourced?
I think one of the things that we would look at, Phyllis, in that group that we would recommend getting together, that we would look at outsourcing as an option.
Right. Yes.
Not necessarily as the end result, but as an option, and look at the cost of that versus what we're doing. And I think it all comes down to cost-benefit analysis. You know, at a truly business sense, is that if we take our blinders off of being town-owned and think that it runs somewhere else, but if we look at it as running a Class A facility, as Mr. Glynn would run, then you look at the cost-benefit analysis. Does it cost us more to have our own staff? Oftentimes, we can control our own staff better. You know, I'm not saying that outsourcing, some towns have gone to some have gone to outsourcing and then bought it back in-house. You know, it's very similar to what has happened with the school cafeteria. You outsource it, you find out that outsourcing isn't all that wonderful. So I don't know what the answer is, I just know we need to look at it. And come up with a.
You'll get more dedication and more ownership out of having local people that you know. And, you know, you bring in these outsourced companies, they'll promise you the world, but what happens is you say, hey, I need the gym cleaned Saturday. Oh, you want the gym? That's not in the contract. That's gonna cost you double time, triple time, whatever. I'm not saying that outsourcing is out of the question, but to Chip's point, there are pluses and minuses to that too. And you don't necessarily get the ownership. I think, I like your, we should look at all aspects, by all means.
I
But
think
the
one of the
training
best things may be is a combined.
and yes, maybe outsource functions of it, but the training aspect is key. If these people have never been told or shown how to use microfiber and a squeegee when washing windows instead of taking a Windex, you know, are they using green products? Are they using best practices? Have they been taught to do that? You know, we need.
And I don't know the answer to that. I just know that it doesn't appear that way.
So.
And when the little bit that I've seen, it's not how I've been taught, or it's not how I've seen it done.
I certainly do appreciate what you've done, and the committee with you. I do, certainly do.
Paul, it's been waiting patiently. Go for it.
I'm going to echo the sentiments of the rest of my peers at this table, but first of all, I want to thank you for an outstanding report. You've done a fabulous job at what you just did for the entire school project. So kudos to you, sir, first of all on that. Just to touch on the maintenance side of this, it's all about supervision. It's all about how to do it, and I couldn't agree with you more. If they don't, it's either they need to be combined, or it just needs to be, you know, retraining. But I think that's it. I mean, when we went through the school, I mean, they were out there, how many did we see constantly working on the floors? I mean, even you yourself said that they were gleaming. So that we know that they're capable of doing it. Okay, it's just the supervision side of it is probably all that really needs. Show them how to do it, and let them do what they get paid for. So, kudos again to you, sir.
Tiz?
Chip, I just have a question. So there's roughly 660,000 square feet of square footage of school space, and then it's almost 80% of our facilities. And I know everybody's been talking about supervision and, direction and training. But given the number of janitors that the school has, is that is that, do we have enough janitors to patrol all this space on a day-to-day basis? I mean, is that one issue that, I mean.
I haven't
it
done
seem-
that analysis yet, and again, that's the next step, that's the deeper brush and the
Okay.
deeper cleaning, if you may. I certainly think we do, but let me give you an example. We have a janitor that works at the Walton School. His hours are roughly 7 to 3 to clean the Walton School,
Why would you have a cleaner during the day?
That's crazy.
okay? Do I need to say anything
No.
more? So again, it comes down to is how is it structured? Now, you do need a day porter. Kid throws up, somebody's gotta clean it up. You have the Wakefield Academy and the cafeteria in the morning. Somebody's gotta clean that area. So there does need to be a day porter, if you may, during the day to help set up for lunch, help clean the cafeteria, get Wakefield Academy set up in the afternoon, bring the projector to Susie Q's classroom. I mean, all the things, set up for a meeting that's happening, all the things that happen during a school day, there needs to be somebody there. Can he burnish floors from 7 to 3 during the day and or really do a deep cleaning of all the facilities? No.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So that's where I'm saying, maybe there's a combination. Maybe you have a day porter that does all those things during the day, and then you bring in a 3-man cleaning crew for 3 hours at night, and you blow through the building. I don't know, but that's what has to, your question is well taken care of. There's studies upon studies that say for X amount of square amount of bodies. There's
appears-
formulas from every chemical company in the world
Yeah,
that
it just
will tell you
appears
that.
the amount of bodies that are covering that much square footage.
I mean, I can, the same goes though from the other side. 80% of our buildings are schools, yet all of our HVAC, electrical, and plumbing contractors work a typical 7 to 3 day. So if they need to get into the schools, it's on overtime. Why don't we have an electrician working 3 to 11? In all reality, even if they're working in the town building, it's better times to get into. So all of that needs to get looked at. I don't know the answers,
It certainly
but that's the stuff that needs to get looked at. We've got to start thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
We've been living inside the box for a long time because it's comfortable, it's what we know. But we need to look outside the box and start with a clean slate and just what is the best thing for the town?
So what's the next step, Chip, you think? What do you think would be the next step?
Well, I think it would be, as the recommendation states, to allow the town administrator, Steve, and by the way, next time you hire a super, don't have him named Steve. Right? Have Steve and Steve. I mean, I feel like I'm on a game
Well,
show.
one of them has his head shaved now, so you can tell.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
We gotta get different names, but it would be to have Mr. Mayo and Dr. Reich put together a group from the schools and from the town and look at this thing and not wait. Not wait, keep moving on it, because it can become stale very easily. And we can just continue to plod along, and the Galvin in 5 years will look dirty, and I think we just need to keep moving forward.
Dr. Reich and I have had a number of conversations about this and other projects. What we both feel is that we do put together a committee like Chip has suggested, and that they really look into every aspect of it that we've discussed today. I would like to see that committee co-chaired by two people that have knowledge of the system but aren't ingrained in the system. And my choice would be, and Steve and I agree, would be Carol Antonelli
Great.
and Michael Piffering, who's the business manager. These are people that have come in from outside. They're kind of new to Wakefield. They're not married to this old system, and I think will speak out of the box. And what I'd like to see is to have some citizens, and I hope that Chip applies for it, and Sean Majerus and some others. We will advertise, because that's what we do. We want to get people that are interested in here to really talk about this and to come back with a comprehensive report, including changes that we probably need to do in the charter. To look at things like outsourcing, to put everything on the table, so to speak, and to look at that. I am heartened, though, that when you look at the new Galvin, steps that have been taken because of Mr. Tarbell and his group, there actually has been some training going on. We have new products, we have new flooring products, new things, actually training that both, to use the town and the school side, that have gone together. So you see them communicating, Peter Evangelista and Chris Pierce going together and bringing different people in for training to clean that and keep that better. I'm committed to this. I know that the Board of Selectmen is committed to this. I certainly know that Chip is committed to this. So I would like to, with the board's assent, proceed along that line, get those people in here, get a really comprehensive report, and have a real great discussion again in a few months' time, and see where we're gonna go.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
Do you need a motion or anything, Steve?
I would love a motion
Oh,
on
you
that.
would?
Sure.
Motion to,
Move that we create the committee with Carol Antonelli and who was Michael Pifferling
Pifferling, yeah.
leading on behalf of the schools, and commission a committee to look at closely at Mr. Tarbell's findings. And come out with a recommendation to the board, probably the school committee
Board
and
and
the
school
Board of
committee,
Selectmen.
great. Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's great.
Great job, Chip, thank
Thanks,
you.
Chip.
Good job, Chip.
Appreciate it.
All right. That was item 6B and an agenda that goes to 9C.
Because,
So
like the janitors.
that was great, thank you.
And stuff.
We'll get through the next in about
Record
5
time.
minutes. All right, the next item is a request from Sharon Gilly to accept and expend gifts totaling $2,268 from donors with thanks.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You got it? Second, same request from Sharon Gilly with respect to a different amount, $6,224. All in favor? Oh, excuse me, so moved. And Paul seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'd like to schedule a date and open the warrant for the November regular town meeting. We're looking at November 17th, 2014 at the Galvin Middle School.
Yes.
Oh, really?
I am told by Mr. Tarbell that we will be ready.
All right. No pressure, but
pressure.
well, let's see.
Consider you don't have any other place to put it.
No, we could, no. it's,
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
ready.
Out in the woods.
So moved.
So moved. Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
And then the closing of that warrant, we'd like to schedule that for October 10th, 2014. The motion?
moved.
All right, Tiz and Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, licenses, permits, and approval. Phuket Thai Restaurant has made a request to amend their entertainment license. Is it amend or add? I think it's amend their entertainment license to add another television. The information's in your packet. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, there's a request for Melitharb Ice Cream for a common victular license. The store was sold, they're keeping the same name, but the new owners need a common victular's license.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by
Second.
Tiz, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. TBI Auto Sales, these are folks that were in here previously. I think Steve will speak on this one, but we're looking to, or considering the revocation of their Class 2 license. So Steve, why don't you speak on that before
Sure.
we make a motion?
Well, what I will ask for a motion is to schedule a hearing for them at our next meeting on the 29th. Block, if the motion I would prefer. But just to give you a little background on TBI, they've been through us before. We've had issues with them before. They do not have a bond, which is required. Despite several emails and certified letters from us, they still have not given us any proof of having a bond. We do need to bring them in to have this, to give them a notice to have their license revoked. This is enough with them, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, great. Can we
So
get
I'd
a motion to schedule a public hearing on that matter on our next meeting on the 29th at 8 PM?
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by Ann.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. St. Florence Holy Name Society would like a one-day liquor license for the Italian dinner dance on October 18th, 2014, from 6 to 10 PM. Can I get a Moved by Tiz, second by Pat. Pat, who's a former president of the Holy Name Society.
And I must say,
As am I.
Mr. Kohler gets in his request much earlier than I remember from previous presidents.
I,
Right back at you, Mr. Falvey.
yeah, I'm actually quite impressed every time I see it pop up on the agenda. I'm like, wow, somebody actually does it right. That's good. That's good.
Mr. Falvey, may I request that we waive the fee for the good people of the St. Florence Parish?
Oh, I think we should waive the fee. Why don't we add that to the motion? I don't know if we've made it yet.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoco. Great suggestion.
There. All right. Did somebody make? I forget where we are on that.
It was seconded.
It was already seconded. Thank you. Glad somebody's paying attention. And all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So we've churned through that. The next correspondence, we do have a letter from the Department of Transportation regarding 95 interchange. I don't think we need to discuss that. And now we shall go around the table, starting with our esteemed town council, Mr. Mullen.
No, nothing,
Esquire.
thanks.
Nothing. A big wind-up for nothing. All right. All right, town administrator, Mr. Mayor.
Couple of very quick things. Number one, the Early Childhood Center was mentioned today during Mr. Tabell's presentation. And the superintendent has invited our board to a reopening of the Doyle School for the Early Childhood Center. It's on September 29th at 9 a.m., which is 2 weeks from today, at 9 a.m. at the Doyle School. Let me know if you're planning to go, but it should be a great day. On your desk when you came here today was we're going to discuss it at our next meeting. You have plenty of time to read it, the housing plan. So we have to do periodically to maintain our status with the state. There's a lot of good work in that, so thought to get out to you as early as we could. On October 3rd, I will be attending the legislative breakfast with the Mass Municipal Association in Salisbury, at Salisbury Town Hall. They do this that's kind of our area. This has been attended in the past by board members. If anybody would like to come up to me, it's a couple of hours up here. You kind of hear things that are going on around the state, in our region. Usually the area representatives are there. I know Phyllis has attended a couple of times in the past. And it is a good day, it's a good insight to get out there. Also, the MMA, the Mass Municipal Association Convention, is coming up. That is gonna be January 23rd and January 24th. It is in your packet there, if anybody would like to go. That is, again, a very good take. There are a lot of good breakout sessions, where I know I've learned a lot over the year, that Selectman Dinoco has attended in the past, Selectman Glynn has attended, Selectman Hull has attended. If anybody would like to go, it is a great take, so please consider that. Last item on the agenda, we're talking a lot about facilities tonight, we're talking a lot about moving in the future and things that we would like to do for the town, and I just wanted to put this out there. There's really not a lot behind this, but I know this will be very exciting to some members of the board that can balance themselves on blades. I was never one that could do that. But we are actually looking at a collaborative effort with the vocational school to looking at a hockey rink in this area up Hemlock Road. Really in early discussion stages. It's gonna take a long time, it's gonna take a lot of issues would come back to the town to look at, but these are things that we are looking at when I think about the campus that is here with football field, the track, and what have you. This is another item we'd like to look at, so that is something that is on the radar screen. I didn't want you to hear it out there in the community without saying, what is this going on? It's some
Sign me up
discussions,
for
we're bringing
that.
them back. Well, I can't skate, so, but I'm still a fan. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Phyllis,
I have a lot tonight,
a shock.
okay?
Go ahead, Phyllis.
First, I don't know if we have any control over the WMGLD, or if there's anything we can do about it. The reason I'm bringing this up is, I don't know about anybody else in town, but it's not my personal problem. I got a bill for $91 from the WMGLD this month, and I was floored because I'm never home. I don't know if running the TV all the time cause it. But anyway, bill from last month, and the reason I'm doing this because I think the rates are ridiculous. Was like, it's $11 less than what I paid this month. So I went down, and What's-Called was not available to see me, and I looked in the back, and does everybody realize that the lights and the gas bills, the rates are going up every month? Does everybody check the back to see how much the rates are going up? So then, I don't know if everybody else does this system. I was told that my one bill that was lower was because it was a bill for 28 days, and this bill was for 34 days. What do? They put the bills whatever days they want? I mean, I think we ought to be looking into another company to where we can get some better rates than what we're getting from the WMGLD. I hate to say that. I mean, they're a great company, but that's not helping the citizens of Wakefield. Does anybody else have any comments about that?
I'd like to see some comparative rates, and I wonder if their business model, having, you know, all the gas and light people and trucks and so forth, that's why their rates are so high, and they don't stack up economies of scale wise to a larger utility. But certainly, number one, the rates are high. Number two, things tend to take forever with dealing with the management. Things seem to take forever. I mean, Paul can attest to how long it took us to get those lights, which to me, unless these lights were shipped on a slow boat from somewhere across the globe, it took an enormous amount of time. Certainly, I've talked before directly to the director, the fact that you can't get rebates for energy savings. We should have programs for businesses. I know that our new director of the chamber would be very interested in letting her businesses know, hey, if you take energy saving measures, you put in a energy efficient lighting system or light management system, you can save on your rates. No such things available to Wakefield. Don't ask me why, because as part of our bill, we do pay into that. So I can't explain why that is, but Phyllis, I would agree with you, there's a lot that could improve over there. I have to say that the service you get when you call, the employees that are there, the gas and light mechanics and electricians and plumbers, I've never dealt with better people. They're top shelf.
Yes.
My problem, your very frustrations, the rates, and then some of the inconsistent messages you get, and then certainly frustration with timeliness of requests, so.
I always think about them in this terms. Remember that time the power went out for 3 days straight? Oh wait, that never happened here. That's there is the big advantage of having our local.
No question.
Yeah,
The guys in the field are the best.
Yeah. So go ahead, Phyllis.
Okay. The ski shop downtown,
Former.
former. It's still a mess. They were given 30 days to clean it up. How much longer are they gonna wait to clean up, to get those signs, to get those windows clean? It's an eyesore.
Who gave them 30 days to clean it up?
It's about 90 days now. What are we doing about it?
Who gave them 30 days to clean it up? I'm not-
Somebody.
Jack Roberto did give them a notice to clean up. Business was gone. So we will have Mr. Sardella follow up on that.
Great.
Okay.
We got the guy.
At the Dole Bear School, okay, there is a no parking sign. I've gone there 3 or 4 days, and some of the residents in that area sent me an email and have called me up. There's a no parking sign between Lowell Street and Woodcrest. It says no parking. To make sure that they're giving me the right information, I go there every day. There's all cars parked there. So they're asking me, what can we do about it? All right, that's the
Steve?
next one.
I got it.
Steve's got it.
Okay. This last thing, I don't want you getting upset, Paul, but it has to do with those beautiful flags on the poles uptown that you just.
The
They're
savings bank
beautiful.
put those
Don't
on.
misunderstand, they're beautiful, they look great, but what I want to know is, everything beautiful in town goes from Chestnut Street up to the lake. Why can't we have some of those beautiful flags, some of those flags, down on the other side of Maine, down on North Avenue and Water Street and in Greenwood? Those
Excellent
people,
question, Phyllis.
those people deserve just as good as flags as we do up here.
Go-
Why
agree with you,
aren't
Mom?
they there?
That's a question that we have to direct to the management of the MGLD. That's exactly where that has to go. I mean, it's not something that they control.
Their polls.
It's their
It's
polls.
their polls.
Their polls. So we have to request a presence with them to find out whether or not we could put those in other locations. And I agree with you. They are beautiful, beautiful banners.
But everything is beautiful, Chestnut Street up. Everything down is nothing.
Well, that's where the new polls were started, that's why. The new polls were
coming.
started. They started at the library and are proceeding down towards this,
So what do
Water
we
Street.
have to do? Call the WMGLD and ask them if we can put the flags on the poles?
Well,
The problem, Phyllis, is that they're doing the polls over a 5-year period, I think.
4 year, well, maybe even shorter now from what I'm hearing.
Well, can we put those
Which,
flags
to
on
me, is
something
just-
else?
I agree with you. The answer is yes. I would recommend, through you, Mr. Chairman, that
Sure.
we get either Mr. Dion in here to sit down with us to find out whether or not we could do exactly what she's
Yeah,
saying.
put
We have
flags on-
75 banners that the savings bank generously donated.
Well, let's get, I don't think we need to haul them in here to talk about banners,
Right.
right? But
No.
I think Steve can make a quick call over there, and I bet they'll be up sooner than you'd ever imagine. Good point, Phyllis. You're on a-
Done.
Thought you had a lot.
Yeah, geez, that's nothing.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go along with her. I do know that the banners will continue. The poles are going to be continuing to be replaced, I'm hearing, all the ways up until December. So there's supposedly more poles being changed with additional banners going in. So we'll see almost down to Albion Street.
Great.
See if that comes to light. There are a lot of items going on downtown that, if you really pay close attention, you can see where there's been beautification to the downtown. So if you look at the Zaba's building, where the new nail salon is, he repainted almost every piece of the exterior of it. Just the other day, if you were downtown, you would have noticed that the building that Rada's Boutique is in, he scraped and repainted the entire top. Drive downtown, you see new paint on one side, you see new paint on. So the landlords are finally seeing a little bit of light in the saying, we better maintain what we have. Another good example is if you go down Water Street and you look at Banner Glass. They did an outstanding job of restoring the outside of their building. It just highlights it. It does good to soul where we're not knocking on their doors to make them. There's a lot of self-esteem right now. They're going out and doing it on their own. Because I don't know of anyone in here that has knocked on their doors and told, hey, you should give that a coat of paint. So something's going on
I
to
think
that
Jim
effect.
McBain has.
Excuse me?
Hi, Jim.
If I can, I would like to speak to the past Italian festival. I could spend an hour thanking everyone that had, but it's the town boards and the departments. I would like to tip my hat to the DPW and the entire crew that was there, the fire department, the police department. Every one of them chipped in for probably one of the most attended event that this town has had outside of the 4th of July parade. An estimated 15,000 people came, and it was not one report. And I talked to the Lieutenant Scory. It was the most peaceful event that he's ever seen. He said everything was fabulous. And when you hear that from the police department, that's great. We had people coming in from everywhere. They were just praising the town in general as to Selectman, Chairman Connie at the time, and Steve, had faith, okay, in a presentation that was made as to how to put the community more than what it was, and to show people that we had something strong, and it's turned out to be something good. My committee of chronic volunteers, as we call ourselves, has to be given high praise. For a small band of 10 people, they really do the yeoman work on producing these events for us every year, and without them, you know, I'm just a reed in the wind bending here. It's their backs that everything's put on. But don't want to go too far off tangent right now. I'm going to stop at that. Thank you.
Great. Pat?
Just two quick things. Steve, the selection, I know that we hire a lot of kids for the DPW for the summertime. And I'm wondering, you know, a citizen asked me, and I didn't have a good answer as to why we don't do it this way. And applications come in, if you have enough of them, or if you have a surplus of them, I think there should be a lottery, so that, you know, either the same kids aren't getting them every year, or it's done fairly, so that every kid has an opportunity to, you know, if you know, we have 5 jobs and there's 20 applicants, that you're pulling them from a not first come, first serve, because some people may not have heard about it or whatever in a timely fashion. And the other thing quickly I have is, you know, the common, it's probably not, and I know it's not the top thing on people's priority, but having walked it, the town common, and in particular Veterans Memorial Park that's been recently dedicated, you know, you look around at the war memorials, and certainly the WW2 Memorial is state-of-the-art. We, you know, really did it right in this town. And I do happen to know someone who's a son of, or they call themselves the sons of the Civil War veterans. That monument, that granite monument, is a one-of-a-kind. It was carved in Saugus by a noted artist. I mean, the detail on that thing and the stature of it, it's one of a kind. It's hand-carved in granite. And it looks far away, it looks like it's in great shape. You get up close and the thing's in rough shape. There's, you know, and you gotta take care of these things. We talk about maintenance. Just because it's built out of stone, it's not gonna last forever. You look up close, 2 of the soldiers' arms are missing. One of the soldiers, back in the 70s, someone kicked the thing over and smashed it into bits, and there's all, you know, crease marks in it, and they had to piece it together. I don't know if there's federal money available. I think we need to pay attention to that thing. It's a landmark in this town, and it's, Phyllis, you have your hand ready.
But Pat, talking about that, which I think is very important.
It is.
You're right. The base of that beautiful thing is
Being
those
rotted,
those-
weeds,
They gotta get
and
those bushes out of there.
it's-
We've asked them to do it over and over again. They're destroying that.
Those
Those bushes gotta come out that are surround that.
I see it in Boston. There's a
Memorial.
lot of monuments like it in Boston, and you know, there's the right across from, there's the St. Gaudens Memorial across from the State House, and right now that's cordoned off, and they're doing just that. I mean, these things
Yeah.
don't last forever. Granite carved, hand-carved granite statues are a thing of the past. They're either bronze or they're laser done. That's a hand-carved, one-of-a-kind. And not every town in this, you know, Commonwealth has one. We're lucky to have it. We should try to maintain it.
All right. Tiz?
Just real quick, I want to congratulate the public school students that took the Chows books over the summer, and it culminated with Mr. Mayo and Dr. Reich jumping into Lake Quannapowitt on Saturday.
You got a tight shot here?
I have pictures on my phone if you need them.
There you go. So everybody knows.
Steve,
Get
you
in
guys
there.
are good sports.
You good?
You guys are great sports for doing that. You know, I think that was an amazing thing that the kids did, reading that many books over basically a 2-month period. So congratulations to them, and it was a great event on Saturday. There were a lot of people there, a lot of kids there, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of laughs as well. So
Yeah, it was.
congratulations to you guys.
That was great.
No, I'm good today.
You good? I have a couple of, I had a few residents actually over the past few weeks or months about paving. One in particular on Houston Street. And I kind of explained, hey, for years I know the story, right? For years we kind of robbed our paving fund to pay for other things, and now we're back on track, but we're still have a backlog and we're behind. And they understood, and so that was okay. But they said, "Would love to know when." And so I didn't have a good answer for that. So I don't know how those things work or how we communicate that. But
Yeah, we do have a paving list based on priorities, and I'll get that to the board so you can get that out to
All right,
people.
there's a list out there so they can
There is,
see.
yeah,
Does it
Rick
say just here's-
Stinson has a list.
Here's a priority, or does it indicate perhaps a street like Houston Street based on its condition and its use?
Yeah, it
You
will
might
indicate.
get it in 2017.
Exactly.
Oh, great. Okay.
Another issue with the paving is that oftentimes we're waiting for gas work to be done or electrical work within the streets. So sometimes that bumps someone down the list because we certainly don't want to pave
Right, and
a
then
street
rip it up.
that the gas company's got to come in and, so that gets very persnickety too and gets
Yes.
some very upset neighbors. But you are right, and we'll get you that.
Okay, great. No, it's a good answer. And then I also just want to congratulate again, Chip, Pat, everybody involved with, getting the Galvin up and running and online in time. It was just a wonderful thing to see. I have one child there now, and she's just ecstatic. I went to the parents, back to school night the other night. I mean, everybody was just very proud to be in their building, all the parents. And I think that's a new feeling for middle school in Wakefield, to be proud to be in our building, and everyone marveled at it. So, kudos to everybody that started way back when with the foresight to, take on the project, even as a concept. But really great job in getting it done and built and open on time. So congratulations there. I'm proud. We all should be. I think that's about all I had this evening, so I'm good. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
anybody else? You good?
Motion
Pat, did you want to make a motion?
to adjourn.
I second.
Pat motions to adjourn, and Phyllis seconded it. Before we take a vote, Phyllis, would you like to discuss the motion? Do you have anything else to say, or are you good? All right, just checking. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you
Right
very
till the
much.
end, huh?
Thank you, guys.